friend, bleed orange and blue to the bitter end. Come and join us, DDNVR. We are DNVR.
We are DNVR, and we are live from Studio A. The A stands for Earmuffs Kids Asshole. Talking about Jon Gruden today and how that impacts this game. We'll get into that in a second, but first I want to give a shout out to MSU Denver, our presenting sponsor of this show, msudenver.edu/online, where you can go to scope out all they have to offer. 750 total classes, 45 plus online and hybrid programs. Whatever way you are looking to further your education, there is most likely, almost positively, something for you over at MSU Denver. So check them out. And like I always say, MSU Denver students work twice as many hours as students attending any other Colorado institution. So check them out if you're looking to work a full-time job and further your education.
And really quick, if you missed our live pod yesterday, it's because we didn't have one. We had technical difficulties, so we couldn't go live. But, Ryan, Mace, it doesn't mean we didn't do a pod.
Of course
we
not.
still did a pod, so you can find that pod anywhere you find podcasts. Just search Broncos will be the first one that pops up. If you're typically used to just tuning in to the live pod, that's a way to find us any day, whenever you want, so pull us up. And, of course, my boys, what is up? The Denver Broncos still have a head coach.
Yeah, it's funny because yesterday maybe that wouldn't have been people would have preferred they didn't, but everyone would prefer that the Broncos, or really anyone, never find themselves in the situation that the Oakland Raiders, they feel like the Oakland Raiders right now.
Now it really does.
The Las Vegas Raiders have now found themselves in with Jon Gruden just making, I guess he didn't make these comments. It was uncovered that he's been making disgusting comments
For a decade.
For a decade now.
That's the thing. It's not just the one-off. And, he said last week after the stuff about DeMaurice Smith came out that, what, not in my heart, blah, blah, blah. We see a pattern over 7 years.
Yeah, and it's funny because when it came out, I forget who it was, but someone tweeted out, like, someone who just casually says these things to other colleagues via email doesn't just say that one time,
Right.
And I couldn't have agreed more when I read that tweet. And obviously the facts come out now, and the Raiders are without a coach. Zach, before I guess we jump into our opinions on this and what it really means for Sunday, why don't you just take us through the kind of timeline of events that have led us to right now?
So, Mace, like you said, last week on Friday, a report came out, and an email actually came out that Jon Gruden had sent in 2011, making fun of the appearance of, like you said, DeMaurice Smith, the NFLPA, and had terrible things in there. And then the Raiders didn't do anything. Jon Gruden coached on Sunday. After the game, Jon Gruden talked to the media for the first time about that and played it off as a misunderstanding, a one-off thing. And he said he doesn't have a racist blade in his body, I believe is the exact term he used.
Does anyone have blades in their body?
I don't know. Maybe he was telling the truth. He doesn't have a blade in his
Doesn't have
body,
any blades.
so how can it be racist?
He obviously mixed his metaphors because he's thinking like blade of grass.
Yeah,
Right.
racist bone. In
Right,
his
Yeah.
body.
right, exactly. And
Off topic, did either of you park on York?
yes.
They're giving out tickets, so you might want to go move your car.
Oh.
I'm
Oh
like,
my
it's
gosh,
probably
it
the
is.
street sweeping
Oh,
day.
no.
You might want to go move it.
Can I go?
well,
Be my guest.
well, wait. It's only one side of the street, right?
I don't know. Lindsay just said it, so I just
Okay. Because I'm like 2 blocks away, but there's a lot of cars on my side of the street, but there's no cars on the other side of the
If
street.
you're a few blocks, it's just.
Okay, yeah, I'm like 2 blocks over, 2 blocks north.
Oh, but still on York?
No, I'm not in York.
Okay, yeah. It's usually like,
Okay.
this is Tuesday, first
Alright.
Tuesday of the month. That's the second Tuesday of the
I'm
month.
sorry, but
Yeah,
I don't
oh.
want anyone getting tickets.
Okay, so
We've lost Zach.
okay. Where did he leave off on the timeline?
He was just
Not
getting
that this is
past.
funny.
Yeah, you want to take us through the timeline now, Mace? He was just getting past Friday, of course, when
Right.
Jon Gruden
Not a
it
racist.
first comes out, and then he had said, right, I don't have a racist blade in my body, which is a weird thing to say, but like you said, just he mixed up his metaphors.
Yeah, so
Then
he
what?
goes through the game, coaches the game. The Raiders, they played poorly. And honestly, as as I went back and rewatched it on a 30-minute quick watch on Monday, I thought to myself, that does not look like a team that's playing hard for its coach. I mean, I think
I didn't
probably they knew that maybe they knew the other shoe was about to drop. There's some indications that the Raiders actually were made aware on an organizational level, were made aware of these emails before Monday. These ones that broke on Monday in the New York Times report.
That's how it always is.
Yes.
There's always a cover-up going on. There's always a finger crossing that, the next thing doesn't come out, and it ends up just making you look so much worse in the end.
Would it at all surprise you, and this is a theory suggested by Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, would it all surprise you if the league was going to keep leaking these things until the Raiders did something?
Well, and that's what it was reported last night. I want to say about Albert Breer, but that's just a guess. Basically said they had more, and they were waiting for the Raiders to act, and basically said the longer it takes you guys to act, the more stuff we're going to keep leaking. And that also probably helped the Raiders in the leverage of getting Jon Gruden to resign, right?
Yes.
Basically saying, hey, once you resign, this will stop, although it probably won't.
Well, now there's a question of these all came out from all the emails they took from the Washington football team as part of the investigation. There are 650,000 emails that the league has in its possession. And when we see some of the stuff with Bruce Allen, the former WFT president, involved, and we were talking about this stuff off camera, so some of the salacious images that were sent in this email chain between Bruce Allen and Jon Gruden and the guy from Hooters down in Tampa and Jim McVay, who runs the Outback Bowl, and another executive down there. I mean, I want to know what else was there, especially if you're investigating the Washington football team. So there's a lot of tentacles here. But anyway, in regard to Jon Gruden, on Monday, that's when we are in the public are made aware of his emails over a 7-year span that include homophobic, misogynistic, sexist insults, as well as topless pictures of Washington football team cheerleaders
On top of the racial,
right, and
racist comments.
we know there were comments about Roger Goodell. There were comments about there were sexist comments about female referees who've come and worked or officials who've worked on the field in the NFL the last few years. I mean, it was vile. I mean, if you read that right away, and I think we all probably came to the same conclusions. Like, okay, how does he survive? He can't survive this. You can't keep him on. And
I mean, maybe it wasn't fair of me because the Raiders actually have made a lot of progress in a lot of areas, and they've actually been one of the more diverse and forward-thinking teams. There was part of me that thought, though, like, if anyone would try to move forward to this, it might be the Raiders.
Well, the interesting thing is, like, I was watching an interview with Mark
So good
Davis.
on them for doing the right thing.
Mark Davis has referred to Jon Gruden as being like a son.
And also, I guess I can't give them credit because they allowed him to resign instead of firing him. But there's, probably $70 million on the line there.
There, as Andrew Brandt said on Twitter, there are lawyers involved with this. I don't think Jon Gruden will see every dollar he's owed. I think he'll see a decent amount of it and be paid his parachute to just go away.
I don't know if they're going to be able to use this against him, but I do remember a quote from Jon Gruden. It might have even been at the Senior Bowl about the size of his contract. And he said, if it doesn't work out, I won't expect that money.
I'll resign.
So we'll see.
Yeah, so there you go. So
Ticket or no ticket?
No ticket.
Let's go.
Yes. Hey, all right. Yes. So
We still talk about Jon Gruden's stupid A.
Yes.
We are up to Monday night, him resigning, Mark Davis going down to the facility, talking with Jon Gruden being out, and then Rich Bisaccia is the interim head coach of the Raiders right now. I mean, the thing is, you mentioned it, because the Raiders organization, first Hispanic head coach, Tom Flores, first African-American head coach in the modern era, that was Art Shell, first female team president, Amy Trask, and now most recently the first openly gay player on a regular season roster in Carl Nassib. Their organizational DNA is about inclusivity.
Yeah.
And this
And for as
struck
much
at
as
the
we-
very heart of that.
As much as we dunk on the Raiders as an organization because they give us plenty of reasons to, that is one thing that they absolutely deserve a lot of credit for.
Yep.
And if you're, I mean, And then just on a football perspective, among all others, could Jon Gruden go and coach Carl Nassib? How would
No.
I mean, the racist comments, the homophobic comments, he couldn't continue as coach because that locker room would have absolutely quit on him, may have already quit on him.
Well, your
on
whole
Sunday.
organization. I mean,
Yes.
you would be down to white males working in your entire organization and on your team. And that, I mean, obviously...
And a lot of those white males are certainly furious about this too.
Yep,
Of course.
exactly.
Of course.
A couple of issues I have just with the whole way that this thing is played out. I don't really know where to start. I guess I'll start with Jon Gruden's quote-unquote apology, which was not that.
Another non-apology.
Right, saying you want to leave because it's a distraction,
Really?
not because you alienated your players and you disgusted your organization and, disgraced the NFL. You did it because you didn't want to be a distraction. Problem with that.
he's helping the Raiders out almost.
Right. Also, problem with the I never meant to hurt anybody sign off. It's just so out of touch and tone deaf.
Why say that? Why write those things in the first place?
Right.
I mean, what's in your heart if this is the kind of language that you're using?
Yeah. If your defense is, well, I did it in private instead of in public, it's not a very good defense.
It's terrible. It's terrible because it shows who you are. Just like the Slavens Elementary School code of conduct where I went, it was, this is who
like
you
Ted
are
Lasso
even when no one
referring-
is watching.
You sound like Ted Lasso referring to what I learned on the grounds of Brookhaven Elementary School or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have an issue with that. Of course, the big thing that everyone's discussing right now is how is this the thing that comes out from that investigation?
Yeah.
Because there's absolutely no one in the world believes that this is the only problematic thing that was uncovered in 650,000 emails, which is about as many unread emails as I currently have. Don't email me. But it's definitely like, does this come out if he didn't go after Roger Goodell? Is that why this came out? Because it was personal at that point. And he
Right.
said, you know what? Screw that guy. Throw him under the bus. And I just wonder, is this the only thing we're going to find out? Or did the NFL try to use this as a distraction technique and it's going to backfire on them because sometimes these big organizations think that we're all really dumb. Mm-hmm. We're actually not as dumb as they think we are. And all this did was re-bring this up and put it back in the public eye to where a lot more questions are going to be asked.
Yeah. Look the other way while we have an organization where sexist behavior is rampant and that we've kind of shoved under the rug in terms of the investigation. Look the other way while we're getting sued by the city of St. Louis and we're trying desperately to keep our emails from being subpoenaed in this lawsuit.
Right. And even in the story, it's casually brought up that they're exchanging the photos of the topless cheerleaders, which of course was part of the investigation in the first place, that they were the terrible things they were forcing the cheerleaders to do. So this is only just begun, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I think there are some people with a lot of questions that are going to demand answers, and I certainly hope so.
What do you guys think of the NFL turning the emails over to the Raiders and saying, what are you going to do with it, as opposed to just taking action right away?
They just wanted them to do the hard part,
Right.
Well, the league is probably saying, look, he wasn't an NFL employee because at the time of most of this, because he was working for ESPN during most of this span. So maybe we can't do anything, but you guys figure this out. It would be clearer if it were a player, because then you'd have the NFLPA involved. But with a coach, it's a little hazier, and so I think that that's what would have come out. And who knows what was next to be released? I mean, would there have been some? Not only Jon Gruden, would there have been some emails released that spoke negatively of Mark Davis, for example?
Right, potentially. Yeah. And what's such a bummer about all of that? I mean, there's so many bummers about this, but the Raiders, like you guys said, have done so much to be inclusive and be on the forefront of all of this. But then it also comes out that the Raiders had all of these emails last week and knew about all of this and let him coach through the game. And it's unfortunate, not just for what they did, but also just in the world now is if it's not on camera, if it's not public, then we're not really going to expose it, right? We're not really going to make it a big deal. And the Raiders chose not to make it a big deal until New York Times dropped the bombshell, and then Mark Davis did the right thing. Why can't we just do the right thing when we know about it, whether it's individuals, organizations? And so that is a black eye on the Raiders and Mark Davis.
Yep. I mean, this is what it's like. The same story just plays itself out over and over
in
and
different
over.
ways,
Yeah.
different organizations.
I mean, Gruden had his press conference Monday morning. He was asked one question early about the stuff, and he's like, "Oh, I just don't want. I want to talk about football," and then goes
Sure
back
you
into
do.
talking about the running backs and linebackers and all the other stuff. You know that.
Well, now he's not
going
to talk about anything for the rest of his life to the public.
I mean, yeah, there was always this idea that, once the Raiders finally fire him, which, I mean, what a failure of a hire. Just top to bottom failure.
How many playoff wins?
0.
How many playoff appearances?
0.
Super Bowls?
0.
Winning seasons?
0.
Oh man, what a failure.
I mean, if you look at Jon Gruden's coaching arc, including his time in Tampa Bay, ever since winning the Super Bowl, he coached, of course, 3+ seasons with the Raiders, and he coached 6 seasons with the Buccaneers. In those 9+ seasons, only 2 playoff appearances, no playoff wins.
Yep.
Very mediocre
I mean, he
since winning it all with Tampa Bay. And as many players have said, Tony Dungy baked the cake, put it in the oven. Jon Gruden basically pulled it out.
Right. And Keyshawn Johnson? Why does that
Yes.
sound weird to me today? Keyshawn Johnson said it today, basically saying, like, he just took what was already built and kind of changed up the vibe a little bit, which re-energized people, and that's why we won the Super Bowl.
And Keyshawn and Gruden have a history because in the 2003 season, Gruden he didn't suspend Keyshawn Johnson. He just deactivated him for the last 6 games of the season.
Right.
And then that was it because of the run-ins they've had. So there's
But what I was going to say is there was always this idea, once the Raiders finally fire him, he'll just go back to Monday Night Football and he'll have that cushy gig for the rest of his career. And nope. He's just done.
And how about it that it
maybe
really
Liberty will hire him to be their football coach one day.
Right. The Liberty, that would be an interesting name of a school to
seriously.
hire him for that.
Baylor.
And
Yeah, there we go.
boy, geez. And how about that though? That Jon Gruden, all of this unravels during Monday Night Football.
Pretty crazy.
It's the last time he'll be on Monday Night Football.
Yep, and I'm sure Mike Tirico feels awkward about defending him just one night before on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, it was. Okay, let's move into, now that we have the timeline established, move into what it means moving forward. Who's the coach now?
Rich Bisaccia.
Who?
He's their special.
Don't spoonerize that name.
Yeah. He's their special teams coordinator. He's been with them since Jon Gruden got there, and he coached with Jon Gruden in Tampa Bay as well. Same role, special teams coordinator. So ever since 2002, when Jon Gruden's been on the sideline, Bisaccia has been there with him. He's also coached with the Chargers and the Cowboys over the years as well. And kind of an interesting trend that we've seen among some teams to turn to the special teams coordinator when they need an interim coach.
Oh, absolutely. Broncos know all about that.
Exactly. The whole thought being
He did a
Right.
damn good job too.
Who?
Joe DiCamillo
Joe D.
on
Remember,
Thursday Night
he
Football.
He pretty much said that about himself.
Yeah, and they got, what was it, 17-6 or something was the
It was
final
like
score of that game?
21-13.
Yeah.
There were some dumb penalties. It was a rudderless
Russell
ship that
Okung,
night.
I think, had a hold that brought back a touchdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good night.
First night they ever wore the color rushes, I
Yeah.
believe.
Oh, okay.
It was all orange versus royal blue. Yeah.
I love it.
And the last game the Broncos ever played in San Diego.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, a lot of firsts, a lot of lasts.
But yes, but that's sort of the trend. And the reason why you do that is the special teams coordinator is familiar with the most players on the team because he's got offensive guys, defensive guys on his unit. It's the least disruptive for offense, defense, play calling. Although with the Raiders, of course, Jon Gruden heavily involved in the play calling there. So you're gonna that's a thing the Raiders are gonna lose here. They're gonna lose Jon Gruden's play calling. But Bisaccia, been around the block, 61 years old. We'll see. I can't unless they go on an absolute tear here. I don't see this as a permanent solution.
No.
Especially, frankly, being someone who's so close to Jon Gruden, going back to the Tampa Bay days as well. So the Raiders are probably going to want a culture change here.
So that's the other thing I was thinking is, I want to talk about. Well, we're going to talk about this in the next segment. But do the players feel good that like all of his buddies are still around?
Right.
I tend to think no. Let's talk about that in a second. But before we do, got to tell you about the tailgate coming up this weekend.
Oh yeah.
For $35, you can come to the DNVR bar, grab a drink, hop on the bus, go to the tailgate, get your pizza and your beer, all you can eat, kind of all you can drink, just don't be an idiot, and play games, hang out, then go to the game. Then after the game, you can hop back on the bus, get a ride back to the bar, come hang out for Sunday Night Football like a lot of people have been doing these last few weeks. And I love that. I don't know why. It's just we finish our post-game show. Everyone's downstairs hanging out, watching Sunday Night Football. We go mingle around, meet the people. Some people come up here. You can get the opportunity to come up and watch the show live, which is pretty cool if you come by back on the bus. So make sure you check that out. Also, if you just want to go to the tailgate, $25 for all of I mentioned at the tailgate without the bus. So it's an awesome deal. And like I've been saying all week and really since we started doing it, I think the best way to get a full day experience out of a Broncos game.
Without a doubt. And it's so much fun when the bus gets here and Ryan, we're doing the pod and we see them all roll in. They come upstairs. So absolutely get those tickets. And guys, we got to get to our DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week. And guys, I'll tell you what, this NFL slate this week is so juicy in terms of the spreads. There's so many, and unfortunately there's a lot that I like in the AFC West, but I'll go one on Thursday night. Mace, I like your Tampa Bay Bucks. Right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, they're 6.5. I love that it's under 7. I would still like it if it was under 10, but the fact that it's under 7, I love it. Now, I know the Bucks, the Eagles in Philadelphia, so it's a Thursday road game, which is tough. It's tough unless you're a really good team playing a not very good team.
I mean, any thought to Tom Brady's old body needing the full 7 days to recover?
No. Have you heard of the TB12 method?
I have, and it's a farce.
Drink a lot of water.
Not for Tom. It's not a farce for Tom.
I think he's doing some other things.
So are you? Are you taking the Eagles?
Whoa! What are you saying here?
I'm not saying any. I just, I don't know, so I can't make any accusation. I'm just saying I think there's something else other than drinking a lot of water and eating avocado ice cream.
Like
You're
Jerry
saying-
Seinfeld said, you put a big matzo ball out there right now.
Well, yeah.
You're saying he's taking TB12 pills.
Vic Fangio said the Ravens are a dirty organization and never really had to follow that up. So
Unless
very
they meet
true.
in the playoffs. And by the way, if the playoffs started today, Denver would be at Baltimore in the wild card round.
yeah, and Lamar Jackson personally has more yards this season than the Denver Broncos do on offense.
Just insane.
Yeah.
I mean, how about that performance from Lamar last night?
He's
makes,
winning.
Makes the Broncos defense maybe not look as bad for getting shredded the week before.
He's winning with his arm. I mean, this changes everything for them,
Yeah.
right? It makes them even harder to defend. I mean, this might be the moment where the Ravens pivot from really good team to legitimate threat to win it all as long as Lamar Jackson's their quarterback.
First player in NFL history to have 440 passing yards and 60 rushing yards in a game.
Insane. Absolutely
Like
insane.
first player to throw for 400 yards with over 80% completion
Yep.
percentage.
Yep.
Just over and over. What's crazy, though, is it just took them so long. Just let him loose. Like, this is back-to-back games. Last week, it's so funny. Is his first ever 300-yard passing game. Then he just goes for 442 casually the next week.
Yep.
Let it fly.
Yep.
Spread it out. 5 wide. Let him go.
The 100-yard streak ended.
Yes, it did.
It did. And Lamar was asked about it right after, and he said, "We got the win. That's all I care about."
Yeah, now the 300-yard passing streak is
All
alive.
right. I wish you would have said that.
Yeah, it's new streak time. Anyways, so you're taking the Bucks minus 6.5.
Yeah, I don't feel maybe as good as I did because it sounds like you're questioning if Tom's going to be okay.
Well, I just don't know.
Tom's touchdown should probably be over 3.5.
It probably should. Yeah, their secondary isn't very good. So
Yeah. So yeah, give me the Bucks. I feel great about it again.
All right.
Even though you tried to take me down, I'm loving
right.
it.
Mace, what do you got for
All
us?
right, you know what? If the Braves can't close out against the Brewers, this is the last time I'll be able to do it, is this week. Get Eric Lauer going today, Game 4 for the Milwaukee Brewers, trying to keep the Brewers season alive down at Truist Park in Atlanta. Over-under is 4.5 strikeouts going against the Braves lineup. As usual, take the over.
That's as simple as it gets.
Look, I've got about a 70 thing. I went back
At
and looked. I've
least,
got a
yeah.
72% percentage on this thing here.
Mace, what's going on? What's going on in ball? Just because I know the Dodgers are down.
Dodgers are down to
2-1
their
on the Giants.
They're down to their last game potentially, Game 4. You've got Houston and the White Sox. Houston up in Game 4
that's a shame.
in Chicago. Actually, going to be the first game up today. And then Braves trying to close out the Brewers today in Atlanta. 2-1. The Braves are up in that series as well. And yeah, that's where we stand. The Rays have been eliminated. The Red Sox beat them. Actually, great game last night. The Sox went up 5-0. Rays came storming back. But then in the 9th inning, you got Ji-Man Choi doesn't quite make the stab on the ball. So you've got an error. And then the result of that, sacrifice fly, Red Sox win at Fenway Park 6-5, bottom of the 9th, walk-off sac fly. So there you go.
There you go.
Now
All right.
you know what's going on in the Major League Baseball playoffs.
Thank you.
Usually it's you give out the long-term bets that we never really get to see if they pay off.
Yeah, it's a
I
great
won't
thing.
forget this one after I give it out. I'm giving out. Obviously, the Avs season starting tomorrow, and they are the favorites to win the President's Trophy. They are the favorites to win the Stanley Cup. And for me, especially the President's Trophy, for that to happen, they're going to have to get a great season out of their brand new goaltender, Darcy Kemper. And I actually believe that's going to happen, especially because they have such a great defense in front of him. So I'm taking Darcy Kemper to win the Vezina Trophy, given to the NHL's best goaltender, at +1,000. He is the third highest ranked player in here, +1,000. I think that he is just awesome. I think he's the best goalie the Avs have had in a little while here, and I think he's going to win that trophy.
So what you're saying is he's going to be the Matthew Stafford of the Avalanche.
Yes. Gets traded from a
Different environment.
Yeah. And
brings him to another level. He's still got to stay healthy. It's always the concern with him.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what you're kind of betting on here, is him to stay healthy. But last year, Grubauer, ends up being a finalist. And
Right.
I think Kemper is such a better goalie than him. I think Grubauer is a beneficiary of just how good the defense is in front of him. There are times where the Avs give up like 20 shots in a game.
Yep,
So
yeah.
I think you're going to see a lot of
Remember
great
what he
games from
did
him
in the
this season.
bubble when the Coyotes went against the Avs a year plus ago, and he was downright heroic.
For 2
out
games
there.
he
Yeah.
was,
2
yes.
games, yes.
And then they finally broke him down and started putting them through. But this is the only reason they were in any game at any
Right,
point in that series.
I love it, and you get much better odds than doing.
Exactly.
I can't. What's the President's Trophy? Was it +300, +30
Less
or
than
something?
that, +235.
Yeah, I saw that a couple days ago. Wow, talk about, and just to put that in perspective, the Chiefs coming into this season were the favorites in the NFL to win the Super Bowl at +500, and so the Avs are over double.
Well, but that's their season record.
Right, okay.
So I don't know what
That's
the Chiefs
fair.
would have been for that. I don't think they're going to get it, though, at this point.
No, definitely not. That is a bad bet now.
Yes, it is.
Which makes everyone in Broncos country happy. And speaking of DraftKings Sportsbook, guys, if you get in on DraftKings Sportsbook and bet $1, they'll give you $100 in free bets, which you can use on, you can split it up. You can use it on all 3 of ours. If you really like Ryan's, want to go all in on that and to make some big money, you can do that. You can do whatever you want, including same-game parlays. The same-game parlays are great for Monday Night Football and for Thursday Night Football. Or if you just like one game on Sunday, throw a same-game parlay on there, and boom, there you go. You're set. So make sure to check out everything they have going on at DraftKings Sportsbook and download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code DNVR to get that $1 to $100 in free bets. All you have to do is use that promo code DNVR when you sign up over at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Also want to talk about Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. And, of course, we've got the Good Company hard seltzers here at the DNVR bar. Also plenty of places to find them throughout Colorado and beyond. Of course, we've got the full array of Breck brews here at the DNVR bar. They've also got the full array of Breck brews down at the Farmhouse in Littleton. That's the restaurant they've got at their brewery. It's right off Santa Fe. So you can check that out. If you want to eat in, no problem. They're socially distanced. Good to go. You're going to be comfortable there. But if you're still more comfortable at home, You can order curbside pickup from noon to 8 p.m. from the farmhouse. Call 303-803-1380 from noon to 8 p.m. Use the code DNVR to get $5 off your meal, and they'll bring your order right out to your car. There's some great food. If you can't come to the DNVR bar, if you're down in the southern suburbs, the farmhouse, it's the next best thing. So check that out, of course. And wherever you go in the country, you want to get some Breck brews, check out the Breck Beer Locator on their website. Odds are, because of the great distribution they have, you're not going to be too far from someplace that has some of those delicious Breckenridge brews like we enjoy here at DNVR.
All right, guys, let's move on here. And I kind of teased it before the break there. A lot of times I worry about new coach games because a guy gets fired and the team rallies around the new interim head coach, and it has this different vibe, and it just everyone kind of gets re-energized. I'm a little worried about that this week, but as I said before the break, I just wonder if it's a little bit awkward that despite the fact that Jon Gruden isn't going to be there, all of his buddies still are. And, that's essentially what this coaching staff is a conglomeration of Jon Gruden's friends. And
his kid. His kid is the strength coach.
Right.
Deuce Gruden.
Deuce?
That's his name.
Deuce, baby.
Yeah, well, that's what people are saying in the facility right now. Deuce Gruden. There's just something weird about that where I think the players are saying, like, cool, if he's like that, what are you guys all like, behind closed doors?
Also, Ryan, the fact that the organization knew about all of this, didn't tell the players, didn't tell the rest of the organization, the players probably aren't. It's not as easy to say, yeah, Gruden's gone, let's all get together, because they know that a lot of people or some people in the organization knew about this. And like you said, these are his friends, these are his coaches that he's been with for a long time. Just like you talked about, the special teams coach, been with him for a long time. So I don't think there's a rallying cry around this unless it's just with the players themselves. And that could happen. And so that does still scare me. But overall, I think that this will hurt the Raiders more than it will help them for this week. And also, this is a coach being fired for bad performance on a Sunday night after a game or a Monday. This was made for a really awkward Monday, I have to imagine, for all of those players. Still didn't, for an hour or so, they didn't know who their next coach was going to be. And then today, it's probably a lot of debriefing just about what's going on, not football stuff.
That's what I was going to say. You can't all of a sudden just walk in today and be like, all right, boys, let's get to work.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? There has to be a whole meeting.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do just an opportunity, an open floor, I think, is at least what I would do if I was put in the position as the interim head coach is, hey, let's just have a conversation here, boys. How are you guys feeling?
It might be the best thing if you want to try to pull this team together. You might want to start with that kind of open forum.
It's the only way, I think.
Led by Mark Davis.
Led by Mark Davis and Rich Bisaccia.
Or he's there at least.
It's an organization that's got a little chaos as well because Mark Bedane, who'd been the longtime president, he left over the summer. So in the last 4 months, you've had Mark Bedane leave. You've had Jon Gruden resign under pressure because of all this. It's a rudderless ship right now.
Yeah.
The Las Vegas Raiders.
The person I think who is most important to them having any sort of stability is Derek Carr.
Yep.
And I actually think Derek Carr is a good leader.
I think so, too.
So for me, maybe he leads the forum. And, everyone can be questioned. Everyone has to answer. All the coaching staff should be in there. But he's the one saying, all right, guys, let's just have a conversation here. What do you guys want to talk about?
That is how they should do it, and if that's how it's done, then that scares me for the Broncos this week, because that would be the players rallying around each other, because I don't think the players are going to be rallying around the coaches. But if it's done by Derek Carr and he really takes that,
and they should have a players-only meeting too, where they say, hey, this isn't about them anymore, it's about us.
And Carr has a lot of motivation to take the bull by the horns here, because he's got one more year left on his deal, but all the guarantees are gone. The Raiders could cut him in the offseason and have no cap impact.
Yep.
So here's an opportunity here for Derek Carr to really establish what the next several years of his career are going to look like, what his contract value is going to be. And if they let him kind of take control of that, then it would enhance him. And I think, like you said, Zach, I think it would scare an opponent if they rally around him. And look, the locker room does like him. But if they rally around him, rally around the other leaders on that team. I mean, someone like Carl Nassib is a guy that we've seen, remember, on Hard Knocks with the financial stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They've got guys with some leadership qualities all over the roster.
Yeah.
Rally around them.
Two things about Derek Carr really quick. How crazy is it that he lasted longer than Jon Gruden? Because the first year Jon Gruden came in, and then every offseason after that, we talked about, everyone talked about, okay, Gruden's going to go
Kyler,
get his man
Drew
now.
Lock.
Finally, he's going to get rid of this Derek Carr guy.
He kept sniffing around quarterbacks every offseason in the draft process.
Yeah.
That was the thing. Like, he never gave the impression of someone who was completely happy with his quarterback. But this is also, I mean, Jon Gruden did this in Tampa as well. He was always looking for something else. I mean, he had Brad Johnson win a Super Bowl, and he's starting to kind of look around the corner. Remember, he had Jeff Garcini, tried to bring in Jake Plummer at the same time. But then Jake said, no, I'm just
good.
going to retire. Gruden has never been somebody who's been happy with his quarterbacks, even when they've been playing well.
He's never even had like a great quarterback though, and that's why we
Right.
kept thinking like, oh, quarterback guru. He's the guy who met with all the draft picks.
Yeah.
He's totally. We thought he would fall in love at the Senior Bowl,
Yeah.
and he didn't.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
maybe he did, but he kept just coming back to Derek Carr. It was really weird. Every move they've made. What's the best move they made? They traded away Khalil Mack. They traded away Amari Cooper. They drafted Khalil Farrell. They drafted Alex Leatherwood. They drafted
Max Crosby in the
Colton Miller. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Max Crosby in the 4th round, maybe.
Yeah,
that's like the
that's
best
looking good.
personnel
But
move.
that's like, those are just, everyone gets lucky. in
Darren
the
Waller,
late
bringing Darren Waller in.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably the best move they've made.
the whole thing was a shipwreck from the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah.
It really was. And the second thing.
That was a Raiders pun, by the way.
What?
Raider-
Say that again?
Raiders, shipwreck.
Raiders,
Oh,
plumbers,
hey, that was a good
pirates,
one. That
all
was
that.
impressive.
I mean, what if Derek Carr just loosens up? He doesn't have Jon Gruden looking over his shoulder, critiquing everything.
Who's their new coordinator?
Greg Olson. I mean, Carr could go off
The
here.
tight end?
No.
Oh.
And different guy,
has to
different Greg Olson. Yes. I mean, what if Carr just goes off here?
He's,
right.
he's
Without the
already
pressure.
going off
Right.
right now.
But I
so-
do think there's something to be said for when there's a change and someone has new ideas. Like this coordinator has maybe been sitting there thinking like, why don't we do this more with Derek Carr? And
Yeah.
he hasn't had the opportunity to,
Yeah.
to
And
push
that's
that
the
forward.
fear you have this week if you're the Broncos. It's that first game. I'd feel more comfortable playing the Raiders
Definitely.
a week down the line than this one, where it could be a little bit of the unknown, unexpected, the stuff that isn't on film.
I will say, it's pretty stacked against them. We're already at Tuesday here. They're probably not actually getting back to work until tomorrow.
Yeah.
They're traveling on Friday or Saturday.
Yep.
So they're on a really short week to try and find themselves as a team. It's possible that they come out and play really motivated, and the Broncos should be preparing for that. There's also a possibility that those guys are looking around at this coaching staff saying I don't really trust you guys anymore either.
Right.
And
But
that's
they're playing
a
for
problem.
their own motivations.
They
as
could,
well.
yes.
Everyone.
This-
That's the other thing that happens is you still see players play hard because they're playing for their jobs. They're playing for their livelihoods. They're playing for their futures.
Well, and the off-script stuff is the scary part because maybe they do stuff that you can't control. And you talked about playing for your future, and this was the second thing I had to say about Derek Carr, guys. And it came out Sunday morning that Derek Carr was not going to negotiate a contract extension with the Las Vegas Raiders until after the season. Was that because he knew that some of this was going to come down? Potentially, but now he just has all the motivation to do this for himself, do this for his teammates, screw the organization, and maybe he's out after this year, but now he has even more reason just to say, let me go get myself a huge contract from somewhere else after this year.
Maybe. I mean, that being said, his passer rating is down, his QBR is down, completion percentage is down, his touchdown reception ratio is worse than it was last year. So he is not
He
off
still
to the...
has really good stats, though, right?
Yeah,
The last 2 weeks have gone
his
pretty
QBR is 54.5. His passer rating is 92.8. He has a 2-to-1
did come
touchdown
down.
interception ratio, 8-4.
It did really come down.
And his completion percentage is down by 3.4 percentage
But how
points.
about this? How about he turns it around and does what he
Wow.
did the first 3 games, and then he's going to say to other teams, he's going to say, yeah, it was John holding me back.
Yeah.
What if you're the Broncos and this offseason rolls around, and it doesn't exactly work out with Teddy Bridgewater, and Aaron Rodgers decides to stay in Green Bay.
Or goes to Pittsburgh because
whatever.
Aaron and Tomlin are giving each other kind of the googly eyes.
That was just a respect thing. But anyway,
that was fun though.
It was great. I love that.
It's two guys are going to have gold jackets that are kind of in that mutual admiration society.
Aaron Rodgers just walks around with this smirk on his face at all times now that I don't even know what to make of it. It makes me slightly uncomfortable.
It's like he knows something that we don't.
He's just like, oh man, you guys think I actually care about this? I'm just out here doing this for fun, and I'm still better than everyone.
For all we know, he's already been told that he's getting the Jeopardy job after all this, and he's just saying, I'm just gonna go footloose, fancy free, have a great year, then I'm gonna go provide answers to questions.
Do you go after Derek Carr?
Here's the thing about Derek Carr. He's clearly not a guy that's going to carry you to a Super Bowl, but we've seen that. He is a guy that if put in the right situation, he could get you there.
He's gotten them to the playoffs once.
Right. That's why he's not a guy that's going to carry you there.
Mm-hmm.
But Ryan, how do these stats sound for what the Broncos want to try to do? And
they need to stop trying to do that.
I hope they do, but I have not seen anything. And maybe George Payton will change that because there is a new guy on top. But I haven't seen anything to tell me that they're not going to do that. But how does 70% completion, 4,000 yards, and obviously a little bit more with this 17th game, 23 touchdowns and 8 interceptions sound for the Broncos formula?
It sounds like what Teddy Bridgewater is on pace to do this year.
Yeah, Teddy's on pace for.
It's a good point.
Yeah, he's on pace for what? 23 touchdowns, 3 picks, something like that.
But if he does what he's done the past 2 weeks, those numbers are going to.
They are going to regress.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't sound like enough for me.
100 passer rating,
especially
QBR
because
is 70
at $35 million a year.
And that's the question: is it worth paying elite money for a guy who's on that second tier? Are you better off just putting your line back into the draft pool and trying to find that guy and at least having that guy be cost controlled?
Wait though. Because of course I want to go after a rookie quarterback and get my guy in the draft. But we're saying the Broncos decide not to go that route.
Yeah.
They didn't go that route this year, so at least there's a speckle of truth to the Broncos not doing that in the future. Aaron Rodgers doesn't work out. Teddy Bridgewater doesn't work out. So then I'm not saying this is plan A, but are you taking this as plan C at that price?
No. I don't think I just think if your goal is to get the organization from here to here, then you do it. And maybe George Payton takes a 6-year, I guess he has 5 years left on his contract. He said, I'm going to give Derek Carr a 3-year, $95 million deal or something.
Kind of like the Kirk Cousins deal. That was 3 years when they gave it to him in 18, 3 years, $84 million guaranteed. But if you're George Payton, you look back at that and say, oh, that was the right move.
Well, George Payton, and so George Payton says, okay, that'll get us back up to here. And then when I have 2 years left on my deal, then that's when I make the big strike to go for whoever, and that gets us over the hump.
Right.
Again, I'm okay if you have a plan.
Teddy Bridgewater's supposed to be that right now.
He is supposed to be that. So the thing that I keep coming back to is I still haven't fallen in love with any of these college quarterbacks, so it's really hard for me to say, like,
Fallen out of love.
Just go get, Desmond Ridder or whatever. I think he's like the most exciting one at this point.
Yeah.
What if you could get Ridder at, say, pick...
Or Matt Corral.
Yeah, like, what if you get
Corral
Ridder
or
at, say,
Corral?
pick... Corral, I believe. Ridder at pick 20 or pick 18.
But Mace, I think
and bring
that's
back
crazy right now.
and bring back Bridgewater for like a 2-year deal at $20 million per.
He's one of the highest rated guys right now, especially with other people falling off.
He's a high rated guy compared to this class, but still there's the general consensus is this class is not what it
But a
usually
top
is.
quarterback's not going to fall to the 20s.
Either way, I don't want quarterbacks in the 20s.
We've seen it like the 2013 draft. We saw, I think EJ Manuel went like 16. So if it's a weak year,
I don't want EJ Manuel.
well, no, but that's the point. The point being, if it's a weak year, you're going to see fewer quarterbacks at the top. This is probably going to be a defense-heavy draft in the
I
top
think it's
10.
people have just got more desperate, though. I don't even see that happening.
I don't want any quarterback unless everyone thinks that they should go in the top 5 and you go get them in the top 5.
And you're in love with them.
Yes, that's
And
what I
you
mean.
trade
Like
up.
they're like, well, he could fall to us. There's a reason.
Right.
So it's an interesting year. I do think over time, this always happens. Over time, there will be guys who rise up, whether it is Corral or someone else, where everyone's saying, this guy, we didn't see it coming, and now he's that guy. You know, Joe Burrow, of course. came out of
Corral
nowhere.
might be taking the Joe Burrow path here.
Yep.
And I think if I had to bet on a quarterback going top 5 right now, it'd be Corral.
Yep.
Wow.
I would
Wow.
too.
He's legit.
Yeah,
And he looks awesome. So
he does.
last thing I want to talk about here, just because it makes me laugh, is our friend Benjamin Albright last night putting out, if Mayock stays around, don't be surprised to see him go after Dabo this offseason.
I hope they do.
That's what my first thought was. Yes, please do this.
Some college drama.
Please do this. I don't know how the NFL could not learn from what an idiot Urban Meyer looks like right now to go to another guy who's been used to telling everyone what to do, getting everything your way all the time, and really just being like a dictator.
Right.
And then sending that guy into the NFL where all of a sudden you're talking to grown men who make more money than you, and all of a sudden your shtick doesn't work the way it used
And
to.
here's what the Raiders would be hoping if they made that move. They'd be hoping for Pete Carroll because Dabo is kind of a fire-up guy like that, and Pete Carroll successfully made that transition. But like you said, it doesn't happen all that often.
It's like Pete Carroll and Jimmy Johnson, end list.
Right, exactly. So,
And
so that's
Pete
what
Carroll
they
had been an
hoped for.
NFL assistant, though.
Right.
He'd been a defensive coordinator. He'd been a DB's coach. And he'd been a head coach before he came back to Seattle because he was a head coach with the Jets for a year and with the Patriots for a few years. So
It's a little different.
Pete Carroll's was more of a pro coach
That
in
succeeded in
college
college.
all along. Now, Jimmy Johnson, that's the one that's kind of the most interesting because he didn't have any pro
That was like before
experience.
Zach and I were alive.
Yeah. And that's and he's probably and he is I think the most successful straight up college to pro coach. So you say, okay, what are coaches who kind of fit that mindset a little bit? You say you don't want the emperor, you don't want the dictator. Well, you can get college coaches who don't have that, but they're not as successful. Like the Raiders probably want to make a splash, and Dabo's a splash. But someone like Matt Campbell at Iowa State makes a heck of a lot more sense if you're looking for a college guy. Luke
Lincoln
Fickle,
Riley.
Fickle at Cincinnati makes a heck of a lot more sense.
Mace, you're making too much sense though.
Yes.
What did Mark Davis do? He won the splash,
Yeah.
so he got Jon Gruden.
And he paid him $10 million a year. I was looking at this last night. I think, so Gary Kubiak, who's three head coaches ago for the Broncos, he was making $5 million a year. Vance was making $4 million a year, and I assume that Vic is making right around that same number. I couldn't find.
He's making more than Vance was.
so 5.
Yeah.
So even when they were paying two coaches at the same time, they were still
Still
paying less than what the Raiders were paying Jon Gruden for the same results.
Yep. And so that's why, Mace, I think you're probably right on board of what college coach you should go for.
Mm-hmm.
But those guys aren't splash hiring a guy from Iowa State.
There I go with the logic again.
It's
Yeah.
not
There
the
you go.
Raider way.
David Shaw wouldn't be the Raider way then, right?
Exactly.
No, of course not.
No,
But, okay.
they want the big splash, the big name.
Is Doug Peterson a splash?
It's too logical.
He won
Yeah.
a Super Bowl.
It's logical, Mace. I could see
That's
that.
why it's logical.
Yes.
I could see it.
But
yeah.
it's a splash. But that's a splash.
It is a
It's
splash because
guy
I think he's
comes in with-
probably going to be the hottest head coach this year.
But if you're Doug
Kellen Moore
Peterson,
is the going to be the hottest, I think.
who
You think so?
Kellen Moore.
or Brian Daboll,
Yeah, but Dable, something went wrong last year. I don't know what it was. He clearly didn't interview well.
and what about Greg Roman with Lamar Jackson? What he's doing in Baltimore?
For some reason,
I
no
don't
one
know
ever wants
why
him
he
either.
I
hasn't
mean-
gotten more.
But that being said, the Raiders are an interesting job, especially given the resources, the new stadium, if you keep Derek Carr. But if I'm Doug Peterson, which job would I rather have? I'd probably rather go to Jacksonville
Oh, God.
if
Yeah.
that opens up.
Yeah. Although it's a graveyard. I mean, you're literally walking into a graveyard.
But you're
and
not
saying,
staring at Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes in your division.
And you got Trevor.
And you have Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, the AFC South is there for the Jaguars to grab if they get the right coach.
Man.
And grab for a long time.
I hope we're not having this conversation, but a lot of Broncos fans probably do hope we're having this conversation at some point of just how attractive is the Broncos job compared to all the other open jobs out
Depends
there.
on what they do with the ownership.
But the thing is, you're going to be if you're hiring a new head coach, you're going to be hiring him before the new owner.
And this is why you might have to unless this season goes really bad, if this season's like 8-9, 9-8, you might have to wrap your arms around the notion that Vic Fangio is back next year.
Or you start moving quicker on this ownership thing because you realize we're going to have to fire our coach. We need to have some stability in this organization before we hire a new one. And so you get this ownership thing done sooner rather than later.
That would-
Or this is Joe Ellis and getting to say one more stamp on the organization. I'm going to hire one last
No,
head
he
coach.
doesn't want that.
I mean, if you're to go back to Peterson, the name, and he's going to be a hot name in the next few months. Mm-hmm. If you're Doug Peterson, why would you come to Denver with the owner, with not knowing who the owner is going to be?
The ownership's really tough.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's not a good conversation to have about how attractive this job would be compared to others.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a conversation for another day. But I just hope the Raiders hire Dabo. That would be so great.
Maybe you end up getting the Sean McVay, though, of the group, because Sean McVay was not anyone's top choice, like outside of Los Angeles. And maybe you end up getting him. You know,
Yeah.
that guy that's under the radar.
Yeah, I mean, that would probably... I mean, Kellen Moore is the closest Sean McVay
But
parallel, but
I
he's
think
going
he's
to
the
be
Mike
a hot
Shanahan.
man.
He's the Mike Shanahan.
Kyle
Or Kyle
Shanahan.
Shanahan, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Broncos probably could have had him. Anyways, I think we're going to wrap up the
But
live
he's not
portion.
good, Ryan. Just remember, Kyle Shanahan, not good. Bad record.
It's so hard. It's hard to tell. It's really hard to
This
tell.
is the second time this has come up in conversation in the last 20 hours.
Yeah.
That Kyle Shanahan, for all the buzz about him, he has
Cliff has a
one
better
winning
record.
season.
Yep.
Cliff has a
Yep.
better record.
Yeah.
Yep.
Of course, Cliff is breaking through in week 3, kind of like, or year
Year
three,
three.
kind of like Kyle broke through in year 3. That being said, with Cliff and Kyler, it seems like this is being built on bedrock.
Yeah,
Like, this should last.
I love it.
And Kyler has taken kind of the old school progression of a quarterback, right? Started off promising, up and down, pretty good in year 2, exploding in year 3.
Just for what it's worth, Cliff and Kyler was my plan.
Yes.
It
That
was.
was, and it's working now. And everyone's gonna, say that's revisionist history. Oh, but when I was saying Cliff and Kyler, no one else was saying Cliff and Kyler.
There you
I
go.
Just want that.
Except for the Cardinals.
Except for the Cardinals.
Will that make you wear a PHNX hat on this podcast?
No. Maybe I'll have like a one of those PHNX Cardinal shirts during the Broncos bye week.
Yeah.
There we go.
But
They're your
no.
second team now, aren't they?
They
The
were
Cardinals.
my second team before. Well, the Eagles also because of Allie.
The Birds.
Yeah.
I just like birds.
You like birds, yep.
Just like birds. All right, that's going to wrap up the live portion today. We're going to finish things up on the podcast portion. Again, if you missed yesterday's show, that's where you got to find it, anywhere you listen to podcasts. If you want to hear the rest of today's show, that's also a great place to go. We do have one super chat. There we go. Did anyone have access to Shermer's emails by chance? For me and let's wrap up here. Again, catch us on the rest of the show on the podcast side. See you guys later.